So today I am going to be trimming up my tomatoes. One thing with tomatoes is, if you've watched my videos before, they are super prone to getting diseases. I mean, there are so many diseases out there that they can get, and then it'll spread to the whole tomato plant, causing all kinds of problems and really hindering your fruit production and even possibly causing your fruit to rot. So we really want to prevent that. If you watched my video on planting tomatoes, one, you want to mulch, you want to create enough airflow around your tomato plants, so you want to space them out enough. You also want to water from the bottom. So drip irrigation is a great method to water from the bottom, or if you're just watering with a garden hose like me, because I don't have irrigation unfortunately right now, then you just simply want to water your plants at the base of the plant and try not to get too much water on the leaves. One of the major things that you want to do is you want to prune them. And for years growing tomato plants, I never pruned them. I just kind of let them grow and let them do their thing, and I still got plenty of tomatoes. So it's, as I've continued to grow more, I've realized that it is important to prune them back, because oftentimes what I was finding is I was getting blight or other problems with my tomatoes. So in order to prevent that, we're going to prune them. And so I'm basically going to walk you through the very, very basics of pruning tomatoes. I'm not a super expert at this whatsoever, because I have just also started pruning, but I found some things that have worked for me, and without going into too much detail, we're just going to do seriously just the basics. So let's go ahead and get into this video and I'll show you what I do. All right, so I have my little snippers that I'm gonna be using, and I also got a glass of warm soapy water, just so that once I trim one tomato plant, that I'll give it a good rinse in here, and then dry it off and move on to the next one. And this just kind of prevents, if I do find any icky, yucky leaves, and there's some kind of nasty fungus disease that has invaded my plant, then I won't be moving it to the next plant. So super, super important. So make sure that you have something to clean the shears off with as you go from tomato plant to tomato plant. So all I'm gonna do at first is I'm gonna trim everything along the bottom. So anything that's kind of dragging the ground, anything that already is starting to look a little bit yellow. When I planted these guys, I already gave them a nice trim, but some of the leaves have started to kind of drag along the dirt, and so I really just want to clip them all off and make sure that I have, that I'm seeing a nice amount of stem at the base, and not just all of these crazy leaves going everywhere. So that's what I'm going to be doing first, is just trimming everything at the base. So I'm just taking these leaves off, and as you can see, I mean, look at those little spots already. Now this could be a bug, or this could be some kind of funk. I don't really know, but it's gonna be chopped off. And so really don't be afraid to prune this back. I mean, you can have a nice long stem here and literally trim all of that stuff along the base. Don't be afraid to. Your tomato is gonna be more happy, I promise. Now that I've trimmed off some of the bottom leaves, and I've also trimmed off some of the nasty leaves, which were mostly at the bottom, but if you see any bad leaves on the tomato plant whatsoever, go ahead and clip those off too. So if they're yellowing, browning, have weird little spots or brown spots or whatever's going on with them, if they don't look healthy, trim them off. And don't forget to rinse your shears. So now that I have trimmed everything at the bottom, and this is honestly not very much because I've already went through and done some of this. So anyway, I'm gonna toss these. These leaves are a little bit icky. So if they were nice and green and pretty, then I would leave them in, or I'd put them in the compost, but because they look kind of gross, I'm just gonna throw them in the trash. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for all of the suckers. Now, a sucker is something, if you follow the main stem of the tomato plant and you follow it up, you'll notice the sun leaves, which are the normal looking tomato leaves. So they look like this. They look like a normal tomato leaf. Like this, minus all the nastiness. But so you follow it up, you see that there's the stem, there's the sun leaf, and then there's this weird little sprout coming from between the main stem and the sun leaf. Now that is a sucker, my friends, and we want to snip those off. Now, like I said, for years I didn't even fool with it. I left them, and my tomatoes still grew okay, but I would get some sort of disease by the end of the season. And so what I found is that trimming back those suckers creates so much more airflow, because what happens is those suckers form like almost like a whole other plant. And so you can actually clip the suckers off and root them in water and then plant them, and it'll grow a whole nother tomato plant. Now, whether it's gonna be productive or not is kind of like, you know, sometimes I've had them be productive, sometimes I haven't. So it probably depends on the variety. I'm not really sure, like I said, totally not an expert, just trying to share what I kind of know. I'm gonna go ahead and snip away the suckers now and show you how I do that. Here I have the main stem that comes from the bottom, and I follow it up. I have a sun leaf right here. And sorry if you can't see that very well, this is kind of an awkward angle for me. And I'm doing like a yogi squat right now, so that doesn't make it easier. I'm trying not to squash my basil. So here's the sun leaf, main stem, and then you've got this weird little thing right here that has all kinds of little leaves, and then it also looks like it could start to set fruit. Now, like I said, you can leave these and they will fruit, but you're gonna really crowd your tomato plants. And since I'm growing these on a vine, this is another reason why I really wanna get rid of these suckers, because I don't want this vine weighing down a whole bunch, because I'm trying to encourage this to grow up and grow up a string. So I definitely wanna get rid of the suckers on these guys. Some of my tomato cages, some of the tomatoes in my tomato cages I won't get rid of. All of the suckers, just some of them. So this is what a sucker looks like, right there. And then you can totally place this in water and root this guy. Pretty crazy, but then I would have a whole other plant. All right, so I'm following the main stem up. I've already trimmed my bottom branches. I've already got rid of a sucker here, so just ignore that. Oh, look at the fruit. All right, following the stem, and then here's the sun leaf. Right there, the sky. Looking all pretty. And then here is a sucker. So this is the main stem right here. And then what the is this? That is a sucker. And like I said, this will grow a whole other plant. But if you notice, I'm growing my tomatoes up a string. Now, all the way to my pergola. Now, I don't want this string super weighed down. So if I let this thing grow, it's gonna produce fruit. It's gonna grow all crazy over here into the other tomatoes. And I spaced these plants kind of close together, if you've noticed. And the reason why I did that is because I am growing them up a string. And so I'm trying to keep them nice and compact so I can actually pick fruit off my deck. So we're gonna clip this little guy off right there at the base. Just like that.
So here is all of my Determinate varieties. I only have a couple of them. I'm not going to be trimming the suckers off of these. I'm only going to be clearing out the base of the plant and all of those yellow, nasty brown leaves. I might trim a couple suckers off, but I'm going to leave most of them because I really want to encourage this plant to grow as much fruit as possible, considering it is a Determinate variety. And so, that has a definite ending point to its production. All the fruit produces at once. And, unlike indeterminate, which just keeps growing and growing and growing, determinate only stays so big. So I'm only going to be trimming the leaves at the bottom, and that's really about it. And like I said, I might take a couple suckers, but not very many.
So I'm here next to all of my cage tomatoes, and they are doing so well. But if you notice, they're kind of crowded together here. Now I've already taken care of these right here. So I've already trimmed the bottom of these yesterday, and now I need to tackle this madness. These guys are growing way too close together, and you know, I already see some yellowing, some discolor going on from the bottom. So I need to take care of this like ASAP. All right, so like I did with my other plants, I'm going to first start by trimming off the nasty, yucky leaves on the bottom, and even the ones that aren't yucky. I'm just gonna go ahead and trim them, anything that is close to the ground here. So look at these leaves. This is definitely, oh, my allergies are bothering me, these tomatoes. They smell so good, but my allergies are not a fan. So yeah, get rid of these leaves. These are so bad for your tomato plant. Get rid of them and do not compost them. Throw them in the trash can. Here is a sucker, and it is freaking huge. It's this huge thing right here. So there was a sun leaf here that I just took, and this is a sucker, and it is huge. And I would normally probably just leave this, honestly, but I'm taking it today because this plant seems to be suffering a little bit, and I just want to go ahead and get rid of that. I'll probably root them and see if I can grow another tomato plant out of them. So I'm just gonna get in here, and some of these suckers are pretty big, but like I said, hey, look at that, it's a pretty big one. I should have got out here and taken them before, but at least y'all can kind of see what it is that I'm taking. And here is a perfect example of a sucker that you would want to snip, or you want to get them when they're this size. So there's the main stem right here, the sun leaf, and then this little weird guy here, and I can actually just pull him off. All right, so I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. I can absolutely not see anything on my camera right now because it is so sunny out here. But all I'm doing is trimming away all of this junk at the bottom. Just getting rid of all of it. And I see a sucker down here. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of him. He's a sucker too. Don't want him. I really should have done this sooner, but I've had a lot to do in the garden and I have procrastinated. So I am taking off suckers, I am taking off nasty leaves, and I am just trimming up most of everything that I can down here at the bottom. All right, and so that about does it. Now you can see now that there is so much space, right? And so I'll continue this up through the top, but I won't do it as heavily. But I will take some stuff off. So for instance, here's a little sucker guy. I'm gonna snip him off. This is actually a sucker too. So get rid of that. This is a sucker, but it looks like it's starting to fruit, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that one. And same with this. So some of these that are already starting to fruit, I won't mess with just because, but I'm gonna snip off this little sucker. He's a little tiny guy. Go ahead and get rid of him so he doesn't create problems. And then I'm gonna go ahead and snip off some of these sun leaves as well, just because I can. I'm gonna snip off this guy. I just want to create some space in here. So if there's a bunch of leaves in one area that are all like kind of crazy and touching, I'm going to try to separate them out, but then if I see some that are just like laying all on top of each other, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them. I don't want to get rid of too many sun leaves because that is how these guys set fruit, is they absorb nutrients through they absorb the sun's energy through their leaves to produce the fruit. So I don't want to take off too many, I just want to take off enough. All right, so I think that's pretty good. So as you can see, you know, before this was very, very dense, and now it is not so dense. So I'm going to go ahead and finish trimming up the rest of the tomato plants that I didn't get to yet. I hope that by now you all have a really good idea of what to do as far as pruning your tomato plants, and that you learned something from this video, because that is my goal. I just want to share what I know, share as I grow. If you all have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching this video. Please like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Yogi Gardens. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, happy gardening. Bye. And one more thing, I totally made these earrings. Check them out if you're wondering, if you were like, what the heck is she wearing on her ears? These are real flowers from my garden. And I will be having a garden collection coming soon that I will be sharing with you guys, so stay tuned for that. I still got to get my Etsy store up and running. I procrastinated a lot with that. I absolutely hate doing anything on the computer. Every time I go to sit down at my desk, I'm like, you know what? I think there was something I had to do in the garden.